13th floor. The 13th floor.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. I am your moderator, B. Jones, and I am joined by a beloved intern once again, J. Dace. What's going on?
It's always a pleasure to get on here, man. With the school, school course, man, it's always kind of difficult getting on here, but I'm glad I was able to make it. President's Day, we ain't had no class, so shout out to the podcast.
Easy. What happened to your hat, bro?
Oh, with the headphones, man. But I'm still representing, bro.
Oh,
you know
okay.
what I mean? Still representing.
All right. Check you, make sure. You know what I'm saying? I know the bees might have been close to, the Black Panther necklace. Or
let them know.
Easy. There it is. BJ, what's going on with you, bro?
All good, baby. All good. Been back in the saddle, man. I was sick last week, missed the podcast, but I'm back with you.
Easy. I'm glad you're here, man. You sound a little bit, like you still got a little phlegm in there. You know what I'm saying? Need some Mucinex or something.
Yeah, I'm getting over it, man. It's coming back. I totally lost my voice the other day, so.
Okay.
But we here, though.
We won't make you talk too much.
Nah, we're going to talk tonight.
Okay, then. Oh, man. DJ Barry B. Fresh. Excuse me. Panther
Greetings,
Fresh.
my brothers.
Wakanda Forever. What's going on, baby?
We out here, same grind, same shine, colorful, well-traveled and ready to get it. Talk about a great movie. America, you tuned in? I know you are. Let's get it.
And last but not least, Coach K, our resident Wakandan, put all of us up on game. Sorry, Art, you're not here to get your acclaim. But, Carol, man, what's going on, baby?
Man, I'm good. What can I say? I mean, finally, everybody else in the world introduced to what I already knew.
Right.
It's been a pleasure introducing everybody, and I'm just happy that it happened, man.
Yeah, man, it was exciting. Man.
What I've known for years.
Years, right?
As I told you, I had to start changing passwords because all of a sudden people know about Wakanda.
All the T'Challa 12569s, no more.
Oh man, look, man, I had stuff that was like my motorcycle was named Shuri.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hard.
And I remember, I vaguely remember you saying that back in the day, no frame of reference whatsoever. I'm like,
right over
okay.
Yep.
Wow. Well, yeah, definitely. Before we get into the Wakanda Forever, before we get into Black Panther, the movie, this day in Black history, man, I want to give a special shout out since we've missed the mark. We should be ashamed of ourselves. We haven't had a Black History Fact this month on the 13th floor. But this day, February 19th, 1942, the Red Tails, also known as the Tuskegee Airmen, were initiated into the U.S. Armed Forces and legitimately able to fight in World War II. So definitely want to put that fact out there. Also, man, it's another shout out. Y'all know Bubba Wallace? Y'all heard about Bubba Wallace? The only... Of course not. So Bubba Wallace, man, black NASCAR racer, man, finished second. Daytona 500.
Bubba Wallace. Yes.
So I had heard of Bubba Wallace before today. One time, I don't know what he did that time, but second place, Daytona 500, just the highest placing for any African American in NASCAR. So definitely give him his just due. Dude's gonna do some great things, man. But definitely want to get those two out of the way. Celebrate that black excellence this month.
Red Tails is a great movie. Go see that.
It was absolutely a great movie.
I was gonna ask you if Bubba was the first name of Wallace from The Wire, which happened to be Michael B. Jordan.
Where's Wallace? Look at that, man. Everything just coming full circle tonight.
Yep.
Well, let's
how
talk
you just
about
double dutch right there.
You feel me? What are that? Anyway, we gonna keep with Michael B. Jordan and Black Panther, man. So movie was this weekend. I saw it twice. Amazing.
Must be nice to be in transition.
Nice. Huh?
Yeah.
I said must be nice to be in career transition.
Oh yeah, man. That last 2 weeks was amazing. Although I spent way more time doing my time doing things that needed to get done, but it almost seems like the more I did, the more I felt like I still had to do. So I don't know. It's, time is what it is. But I got a lot done, man, especially with Chris's father and him being here after suffering the stroke and everything. So he's on the course to, I guess, recover well and everything. So yeah, you all right?
I'm good.
You over there giving me batting eyes and stuff, man. What's going on?
Nothing. If you didn't hear it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I heard it. Don't worry about it. I was gonna let you ride, but anyway, on to this movie.
I was gonna blame Jay.
Bro, I'm on mute.
Nobody knew that.
On to this movie, man. I got to get you guys' reactions. I definitely want to get into Michael B. Jordan's character since it was really dynamic on the show, but just on the movie rather. But my reaction to the movie, man, I thought it was amazing, well put together. The acting from top to bottom was amazing. I almost feel like Shuri was my favorite character in the movie, just for what she brought to the table, as well as how funny she was the entire movie. Like you couldn't have asked for a better younger sibling.
Right.
That relationship was just amazing. But her technological advancements that she showed off throughout the whole movie, I'm really excited to see what she grows into after reading all of the backstory in Black Panther. But yeah, I'm gonna throw it to you guys. Let me know what you guys thought.
I think it was straight amazing, everything from top to bottom. And I think there was a lot of, I don't want to say hope, but everybody, there was a lot of hype surrounding this movie, and with it being a comic book character coming to life, there's many different ways it could go, and for it to be a story that it wasn't about black versus white, first off, which I thought was really important for it to be like a truly like changing movie. Like everybody in the movie was black, but it was a good story. It was
except
a story
for the colonialist.
I love that the colonizer
the relationship, everything.
Do not scare me like that, colonizer. Bro, I was weak.
I love the fact that they got Claw out early. But go
Yes,
ahead,
That's
just the way that the story developed, how everybody was, the way everybody was involved. But then again, the dialogue, like you were saying, that it wasn't just, some hood black people type dialogue. It was, it was amazing to get a real feel of Africa and really start to feel that African pride of feeling like, man, I'm doing myself an injustice by not going back and visiting my people and trying to, get closer to that community. But then also seeing the Killmonger side of it of, well, there's not, you guys also have a sense of, you guys aren't African, so there's a little bit of an issue as well. And just the way that dynamic played out and how it just a great movie, man. I mean, top to bottom.
So there's a couple of things you pointed out there, and I want to start with Claw. So BJ, you said it kind of threw you for a loop, and it did me as well, because I didn't think Killmonger was going to be like as big of a character, but I also didn't know the story, and then it kind of changed a little bit to fit the movie. But getting Claw out of the picture early, like first quarter, he's gone, making it not black people versus white people, and centering the source of like dissension or frustration, the problem centering just on us. I love that the focal point was just on us and not the catalyst or the white people. It's just not about them at this point. Like
it's never even in the comics, it never had anything to do with the white people per se. It was always just, look, if you're not from Wakanda, don't come to Wakanda. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It didn't matter who you were, what you look like. Don't come over here.
I think,
but Killmonger brought up a valid point when he said, "Didn't all life begin at this continent?" So exactly. is it when he said that I'm not the king of all people, I'm king of Wakanda? T'Challa said that, so it's like, if everybody came from here, are you not? It's kind of, it was a gray area, and it made me think about some things differently. But
but here's the thing, right? Because it's the most technologically advanced country in the world, right? This fictitious place of Wakanda. So it was, how much could you all do for the world? And that's the train of thought that T'Challa was going to arrive to. Killmonger was, no, not the world, just black people.
Yep.
What can we do for black people? So, you know, it's to a degree we're moving the same place. How much can we benefit the world? But Killmonger had just focused on just black people, and that's where the conversation is.
I love how relevant it is to, you know, we have you know, African Americans who look down on, you know, hood African Americans, or, you know, I guess you could say African Africans who look down on African Americans, and the dynamic of watching that play out and being able to, everybody, as an African American, I can say, you know, you had some Killmonger type feel in you, and had the ability to kind of see his frustration at the end of the day, in the sense of, why are we just, you know, totally, we could be such a dominant force. We have the ability. What are we waiting for? And seeing that dynamic play out, and move to the bigger picture of, you know, quit thinking of it as us and them, and realize we are all one. Just as much as Killmonger said, hey, didn't all people come from here? He's telling himself the same thing too, that, yeah, we're all one. And so for you to sit there and try to make it almost in a sense an us versus them, it's about figuring out how do all of us together become the one that we initially were.
But I think one of the piece I went back and forth with is, like, I heard both sides and I understand both sides, but I understand also that the position of Wakanda, and I think, like Kay said it best, is if you're not from Wakanda, don't come here. Because they understand how the world was operating already, even though the world didn't understand them or know about them, and the bad uses of their advancement. Like, they use their advancements for whatever protection, whatever advancement in society, their society as a whole. It will be taken out of context and used for destructive forces.
Right. So I mean, look, it's already historical that Africa had all these resources. Real Africa had all these resources,
right,
and everybody came in and just started taking from the resources.
Right.
So what would happen if there was
read Stolen Legacy if you haven't read that? Sorry, I had to drop a book right there.
No, absolutely. What would happen
Legacy.
if there really was a country that had vibranium and the rest of the world found out? They're gonna go in there and try to take it.
Exactly. And I mean, I want to pose this question too, as far as Killmonger is concerned. I see a lot of posts. I saw a lot of posts before the movie about him being the best super villain.
Yep.
And personally, I don't feel like he played a villain role at all. Like, yes, he's definitely an antagonist, but there was nothing villainish about him, especially the particular situation.
Hey, slow down. This man choked a grandmama in the sanctity Serenity area.
Hey, he said
he was all
when I
hopped
tell
up
you,
on Black Panther juice, man.
I don't care what
my man said.
No.
When I tell you to do something, I mean
grandmamas, and you don't kill. And this man,
Bro, he offed his girl.
He killed his lady without a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Clearly,
his lady,
oh yeah, baby. Cacao. So anyway,
clearly she was down for him and was willing to go the mile.
Right, she was ready to go. She knew what it was.
She didn't know that. She didn't know.
She absolutely. She said I was sorry,
She didn't
and
know.
she knew.
Bro, he was about to off. He was about to off his. Was that his niece or his cousin? Shuri. Offer. He was about to offer without a blink of an eye.
yeah. Well,
Cousin.
Yeah, but at that point, they fighting.
Worried about his cousin.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I mean,
They killed his dad.
He
Yeah.
definitely played.
They didn't. Kill his
Dad drew a gun on his brother.
But on his brother. See, I got
It's a lot- it's a
not
lot of
issue. I
corruption.
got questions about that piece too. And
Go
Kay and I
ahead.
talked about that earlier in the week.
But hold on. What was your question, Brett?
It was about the villain versus antagonist portion, because I didn't really see him as so much of a villain because of what he stood for. Yes, he had those a few moments. He made a couple bad decisions, choking grandma and whoever else in the garden. However, his purpose or whatever is something that I think Fresh alluded to. It kind of resonates with a few people in society. I don't agree with the means, because I felt like he would have just started World War IV or III at the time. But his purpose, it was so sad for me at the end to not see them be able to coincide or reconcile.
Well, it was the stereotypical, I would say, because I think that their relationship was a lot more they were a lot closer than the world would like us to see. But the MLK, Malcolm X feels the hardcore. Let's just make the change as opposed to how can we move as one together.
Well, yeah, we're gonna. I want the change to be quick and violent. It doesn't matter. The change,
any means necessary type thing.
Hey, there are ways to institute this change, but I think that the biggest thing is exactly what made him one of the ultimate villains is his relatability and the fact that it makes it tough for you to see him. Yeah, exactly. To hate him, to see him as that villain, the relatability, the fact that he had a great backstory. He had validation for his feelings and how he was going about everything and his thought process on where he was going. You could relate to being like, wow, if all of these things lined up in the same way, I could see myself having those same feelings and wanting to feel that anger and that I need to go and do something about it. And so that's really what he just played such a great. There wasn't over the top. He was so smooth and meticulous with what was going on, but it's still to have anybody be the antagonist, and by the end of the movie when he dies, you're still kind of like, dang, they had to take him though. Like that's a great piece.
No, that was his choice.
Sure,
yeah.
he chose that, and it took me seeing it the second time to realize that.
Yeah,
but something he said it was so powerful though, man. Like just the that line. I don't know who wrote that script on that part anyway, but that line was powerful. Just bury me in the ocean. Yeah. I was just like, wow, it just spoke volumes, man.
But you know what? So it did speak volumes, but there's so many different ways you could go with that. Because most people look at it as, or I feel like people are looking at it as, all the Killmonger supporters out there, they're looking at it as, well, he didn't want to be in bondage for the rest of his life. Exactly. But I think it was more so a message of saying, hey, slavery didn't just happen. We fought against it, and we were even willing to give up our lives not to be in slavery. So message, take that and marinate on that. But a lot of people aren't going to look at that. They're going to look more so at the infighting between us.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even the infighting. So I wanted to ask the question too, because, and Fresh, I think you used the terms interchangeably. So I'm gonna say Black Americans for us that were like born in America, no direct line to Africa, and the African Americans that are here. Seeing this movie and them try to play on that dynamic a lot of bit, do you guys feel like that relationship will grow and be a little bit better than it may have been previously? Because I have a few African friends that kind of feel like, and I think it's really easy to say that as an African American, but it feel like the heightened, everything is trendy now, you know what I'm saying? The move, everybody going back to Africa, us wearing the dashikis and the kentes now and everything, it's a trend now. Whereas when we were growing up 15, 20 years ago, you dealing with the ignorance and, nobody wants to be from Africa. You don't want to be from the bush. You talking about terms like African booty scratcher and all of that stuff. And now all of a sudden everybody wants to, claim some rights to some heritage. I think that not only does with a heightened state of consciousness come, that heightened state of responsibility and reach back to that heritage. I think that the movie showed that even in that moment where Killmonger's pride had him take that knife to the chest and continue and fall into the ocean, T'Challa was willing, I feel like would have been willing to bury a hatchet. You know what I'm saying? Because
he 100% was. He told him, let me fix you.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That bondage thing is like all of this was in your head, and it goes even further to the systemic things that he dealt with growing up in LA or wherever in California he was, and the oppression that they put around his mind, like thinking it's either balls to the wall with this or nothing else. Like there is no middle ground for me. There is no compromise. Like I have to get it this way or no.
He's like, if I can't be who I am, then I don't want to live.
Right.
And if you think about it, like we have that conversation almost every day with people that live in the quote unquote hood, and you try to go talk to them and they're like, oh man, I don't want to have to change who I am to get this or to get that. And that's kind of what that situation was, is that, look, if I can't go out here and guns blazing and get it that way, I don't want to get it any other way. So just go ahead and kill me. Let me die.
Does that make any sense though?
Oh, it doesn't make sense. But if you look at the number of people, that are like, they already have t-shirts. Killmonger was right.
Yeah.
Right?
He was right about what?
Yeah, what was he right about? And for those people that are saying Killmonger was right, how many of y'all are actually willing to take up the cause
or lose your life?
Right. And that's the biggest thing I got, the most positive thing I got from Killmonger, is that he was ready and willing to do whatever it took, and that being his life as well, for what he believed in. Now, you mentioned this Killmonger was right shirt. Yeah, absolutely. I would pose that question to anybody rocking that shirt, because I think that attitude, that mindset is it's lacking amongst our
people. It goes back to what you said about it being trendy, though. You know what I mean? Just it's a fad. You know, it sounds good or it looks good to put that shirt on, but if it came down to it, you know what I mean, would you really stand up and really believe and hold true to what you're saying or what your shirt represents or not? But I think Killmonger was like just driven by hatred. Mm-hmm. I think that he just had a lot of resentment in his heart. And while his cause was good, like T'Challa said in the movie, he ultimately became who he was trying to eliminate, I guess.
Look, I put it to you this way. So the movie has probably made about $215 million domestically at this point. Mm-hmm. How many of those people do you think we account for?
What percentage of that total?
Yeah, percentage.
I would say by 75.
I don't think so.
I think.
You don't think so?
Let's say a third. Let's say a third.
33%.
Let's just roll with 33%.
I don't know, man. I think it's a lot higher. Is it that many comic book heads that's going?
It's probably higher.
Understand?
It's probably higher.
There are,
but
yeah, true. But I feel like we showed.
Let's just roll with the 33.
Okay. I mean, the movie theater I was at was like 98.9.
Yeah.
Let's just roll with the 33. Okay. That would be $71 million in 3 days. Mm-hmm. What cause have we ever stood behind and put up that kind of money? And what could we do with $71 million? And we're just talking about ticket sales. We're not talking about popcorn and soda and all that stuff, because you're going to have to double
T-shirts to wear the outfit, because you know everybody went to the barbershop, the beauty salon. Nails done everything before this too.
Right. And look, Brett's already been to see it twice. Mm-hmm. Who else is going to go see it again?
And we'll be watching it every time it comes on. Anything that I ever see.
How much money is that, and what could that do for a school system? What could that do?
Right.
At first, I was going to take you guys to what could it do for a presidential election, but I could tell you it's not going to do much because I looked at the amount of money they spent on last presidential election.
Dropping the bucket.
And it doesn't even touch it. But what could you do with that type of power, with that type of buying power? And people don't realize, like, they think it's gonna take this huge thing, and all it is, hey, give me $20.
So that's I was gonna come to that point a little later in the podcast, but it's like, where do we go from here? Because you got the masses out to support this movie, and rightfully so, because I took my daughter. Probably not the best idea. I didn't really want to, but you got children seeing.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll come back to that one. Never mind.
You got children of all ages, teenagers, seeing the kings and queens of Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? Seeing heritage basically in a way that they've never seen on screen before, outside of maybe some bondage or slavery type of movies. Like, you see us in prominent places. So with that, the catalyst that Black Panther was, you've already alluded to the buying power. You've already alluded to the movements we can make as a mass. So is this the push for that going forward?
I think that you can't, as great as this movie is, we can't act like this is just all of a sudden some time bomb that just blew up, and now all of a sudden, you know, while we do all have our dashikis on, we're not wearing these to work tomorrow. You know, that it's the importance of the movie is my daughter consistently telling me for 3-4 days about how great it was, and the funny thing is my daughter was a DC you know, Flash and everything else like that. Like, she was not even checking for it at all. I kept on telling her, hey, Black Panther's coming, Black Panther, I'm telling you, it's going to be amazing. She finally goes, sees it, and I mean, totally changed her life. It's about the drop of the bucket in the youth and how they're seeing, understanding, and reacting. And for the first time, I can't really tell you when I was young like that, a movie that had Black people in it, that it wasn't no crackheads or no, like, they weren't, you know, it wasn't like that. There was heroes. Everybody in the movie is Black, but it's a great movie, and it's you know, it has nothing to do with color. It's just like, wow, it's a great story. But then it brings in us as kings and queens, and that we weren't just slaves, and we weren't just, you know, crackheads, and we weren't like, that's the importance. That's the drop in the bucket that's going to make the real change. It's not going to be something to as important as it is. There's not going to be this moment of now, you know, oh, you know, it just totally changes the way that African Americans and Black Africans relate with each other and all it. It's not going to be that quick, swift move.
It's not.
Seeing
but also with
just the bit. It's like when children got to see Barack Obama. When you, and even us, when Barack Obama was elected, like the change that it made in your head of, yeah, I was always told you could be president and that, yeah, but I never really thought that was attainable, because it's like, well, you still a Black dude at the end of the day. It was like, yeah, maybe, but it's probably going to be so far in the future. Once it happened, it was like, yo, you could tell, you could see the change in everybody. In the thought, and while it's still growing, you got to realize things happen over lifetimes. They don't happen over days.
And you got to think that seeing something like that, what is the impact for a child? And they even played that out in the movie towards the end when he was like, yeah, let's show them the spaceship. Let's show them our ship. Yeah. Like, oh man, that's yours. And you got to think about it. There are 9 and 10-year-olds right now that for the first time in their life, there's a white president.
Yeah, think about that.
Had only been a Black president before. They had never known anything different. Mm-hmm. So these little seeds that you plant, they're going to take time to grow. But I think right now, as adults and old heads, we have this argument already between those that have been in power forever, those that have been looked at as the leaders, and they look at the young folks. And when we say the young folks, we know that that's even us in our 40s and down, we're still the young folks. Mm-hmm. And they look at us like, oh man, you guys don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And then you still have just the different factions. So look at M'Baku, right? The gorilla tribe, those guys, they didn't want anything to do with it. Like, if we can't be in charge, we want anything to do with it. And then they came around later and realized, okay, well, what's better for all of us is if this man is in charge. So we gonna save him, you know, don't move him because you're gonna kill him. Do what you gotta do to rescue him. But then there's other people like a Wakabe, who
is that the guy that's still in the sunken place?
Yes. Still in the sunken place.
Yo, what the, like, he got to lose his head first quarter in the next Black Panther movie.
Look, he had
he
strong. What you have to realize, look,
off with his head.
Understand, you're talking about somebody who lost his parents to Buddy, and when he asked the king to, hey man, I lost my parents, you know, it's important to me. I want the claw's head. Like, I want it, I want to be a piece of it. When it didn't happen.
Hold on. I wanted so badly for T'Challa to tell him, the reason I didn't bring Claw back is because of the mug you helping right now blew the freaking wall out and took him out of my hand. So what are we talking about?
Do you think that he would have cared about that? And at the end of the day, I don't care. I wanted the guy dead.
That's the problem.
And my man brought it to me.
To him, and think about it.
That's
might have
exactly
been
what
another-
happened.
Yeah, that's what it was. He won his heart.
That shows how you failed even further, T'Challa. You're telling me that you let this guy come in out of nowhere and do it. So that's why it's just
small-minded
like
thinking.
There was
Small-mindedness.
Oh yeah.
I want retribution. I'm not looking for a long-term solution. I want retribution to my solution.
It wasn't only there because he even said when he didn't come back with them, he was like, the same thing with your father, in the sense of it wasn't just about him
It's
not
more
bringing
the same. I thought it was gonna be something.
it was
More
about
the same.
look. We want to make a change, and we want to. Similar to what Killmonger wanted, I don't think that he wanted it, of course, at the levels that Killmonger wants it, but he wanted to implement, like, we are this great nation. We want to be heard. We want to be able to have all of our people, and not just Wakandans be able to be heard and be a dominant force in the world. So I don't fully push him off of hey, you're still in a sunken place. Because again, there are pieces of understanding in how his thought process was and what he wanted for himself, the people, and everything else. That's another piece as to why the story in the movie is so great, because there's so much.
They show real life conflict, like
and so many internal battles you yourself as a viewer are facing, and like when you can look at at Killmonger and have the conversation with people that are going to be like, well, I'm really on his side. Like, really, I think that's that's a beautiful movie. And that's more the importance of the film as a whole. Like, I love the fact that it's a great movie, period. Like, just the way the story is, the fact that you have those conversations, the dialogue around it. My wife didn't even really watch any of the previews or anything like that. She doesn't do comic book movies or anything like that. We took her, she sees it, and she's like, wow, this was amazing. And it is a good movie. It's not a good African movie. It's not, it's just a good movie, period.
On that note, that's why I wanted to go back a few minutes ago when we was talking about what is it going to change. I think this movie right here set a precedent for directing, acting, production, and all those components in the cinematic field that we've been talking about, that we've been getting robbed and gypped about different awards and accolades for years now. That these awards are not designed for African American directors, and the field is closed. So when we look at what this film is going to do, the political stuff, like you said, is seed sown. Mm-hmm. Am I getting feedback? Is anybody else getting that too?
Yeah, you gotta let it go.
Sorry about that. But it's not about the seeds are being sown for the political things and relationships. But I think what this movie did do immediately was shut down the things about, we can have a black film, majority black cast. It's not about the killing or the slavery, bringing back something about slavery, about a positive figure, and it's going to do well. We can have a movie where you have black males and females that aren't, I'm going to bring up something, vying for power and the struggle, or the black family is this, or black family is broken. It's about a kingdom of people who are doing great things for the world and their internal struggles. And that alone sets the precedent for how movies are going to be produced, and in my opinion, produced and portrayed from here on out. Like Hollywood, the media, Forbes, Gina sent me a list article. I didn't get to read it all the other day on Forbes, and they're talking about the financial ramifications of this film alone. What it's going to do in the lives of those actors, but setting up for the precedent for, if we're going to do this again, what is the bare minimum that lead actor is going to get from now on? What is the bare minimum that the supporting cast, when we have people, because most of these people, we saw them in other movies in smaller roles, but they're primed for stardom. The top, what is it? A-list.
Yep. A-list celebrities.
A-list parts now.
The director, real quick, but the director, I think, Fruitvale Station was his first movie.
Correct.
I think he got $2 million for that, and it did like
He did Fruit. You said Fruitville Station.
Yeah,
Fruitville
Fruitville
Station
was first,
and
then
Creed.
Creed.
Okay.
He did Creed. For Creed,
That's
I
how
think he
Michael
got
B.
$40 million for that movie. So
He was in both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Now I see that. You know, he keeping he Spike Lee.
Michael B and him are tight.
Yeah.
But for this movie, it was a precedent because it was the most money in history. An African American director got $200 million. He got for the film. So to already opening weekend to be able to have made that money back is not only.
I'm sorry, that's just domestically. They're rating the 300-something million worldwide.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, it's the importance and the strength of showing that, hey, we could take these budgets, but then make a film that is a film. Like
A
this
good
movie
film.
talked about for eternity, just because it's even in the dynamics of a superhero movie, like how they brought that African third world country type feel, but then would bring in the technology and how everything was intertwined, that it wasn't, nothing was over the top. It gave you a real feeling of, wow, this could be going on right now. And that's what I love, like, especially with the Marvel universe, is the setting of time right now, and even the elements that they brought from, previously, that it literally, made you feel like, wow, this is I could see him getting murked in LA like this back in the, in the 90s, and how everything plays together. It's just, it's setting the precedent and allowing that door to be swung further open, and the standard to be understood that we're all amazing at this. Like, there needs to be more opportunity to see more films of this caliber. You're muted.
Okay, we can't hear you.
We can't hear you. You're muted.
What's up with the technical difficulties today, man? Dang.
Somebody go get Sherry.
You feel me? Sure. What's that, man? They trying to get us off the air. BJ, was it another question that you wanted to go back to, man?
I want to go back and you said you weren't sure if taking your daughter was the best idea.
Only because she's so sensitive. So she's sensitive to violence. She's sensitive to curse words. At 8 years old, she's still a child. Like, she wants to be more mature. And so we ran the experiment, but we get in there, and it was the freaking, before the movie even came on, they had a preview for Bruce Willis's new movie. And he come out that joint guns blazing, and she's just sitting there with her little blanket with her hands over her eyes. Like, so when it was a couple points in the movie, I think when Mbaku came from the Jabari lands, and they had on the daggone gorilla mask, and when Claw first used his arm, she was just like, "Oh man, this isn't for me."
So I went back and forth because I had I didn't go back and forth about whether or not I was going to take them, like his. So the twins are 9, the oldest is 11. So I was going back and forth about the conversation, because I didn't just want to take the movie, say, here, go watch a movie. So from the time we left our driveway to almost the time we got the movie theater, like, it was a conversation about what they were going to experience or what they're going to see, and trying to set the stage that I'm excited that they get the opportunity at their age to see a movie of this caliber. And I didn't know what we were going to walk into. I truly didn't. I'm not a comic book follower. I didn't follow the story. The past few months when we've been talking about stuff, and Kay and Art have been dropping stuff, has been my exposure to it. But I knew the opportunity for them to see a good film that happened to have Black characters in it was important for them. So setting about that, again, at 37 years old, this is the first time I'm able to see a movie like this in my lifetime.
Right.
You watch Meteor, man. Come on, dog.
I was about to throw that out there when you said something earlier, Fresh, about superheroes, because you hit me with the Meteor, man, a couple podcasts ago. But anyway.
But along with that, so we get, but taking all that out the equation, I wanted them to go on with the mindset that what they're going to see is the start. They get to witness in their youth the start of setting the bar for what every other movie has to be from here on out. Because if it drops below that bar, like, comic book heads may go, but it's not going to get the acclaim that Black Panther got this weekend across the board. It's just not. I'm sorry. And I mean,
and please believe remember, we still don't own any distribution companies.
Correct.
You know, we don't own the big, you know, Paramount and all these folks, Sony. We don't own any of that. So it's very easy for things to become very difficult so that this doesn't happen again. But what I was trying to tell you guys was that it's now at $371 million worldwide.
Yep.
And that does not include China, Japan, or there's somebody else. There's another big one in there.
Hey, fact checker, BJ,
Russia.
Can you look up what Star Wars did? Because that's been the bar for me. I've been trying to.
They broke Star Wars. They broke Star Wars records. We not. Well, not domestically.
Yeah, first week though, like as far as like opening weekend, I'm pretty sure we crushed that. Where my phone at?
Well,
I don't think we're there yet, but you guys can look it up. But yeah, so
what are the Avengers?
But I want to go. But real quick, but one of the things I want to finish that comment about the kids, and I had this conversation with Kay, and he put me on to some more things about Shuri that happened later on in the timeline. And then I'm like, are you kidding me? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not even gonna drop that now because I like my mind was blown. I got to go back and read it. But I wanted to hear my daughter specifically, and the conversation with her was, and what I saw from females my age that I've grown up with in my life on Facebook and Twitter. Mm-hmm. And the comments basically to someone that was, if I had seen a character, not a lead character, just a character, a dark-skinned character on the big screen when I was younger, I believe my self-esteem would have been different throughout the rest of my life. And that's the conversation I wanted to have directly with my daughter. And then the importance of how the women were portrayed and their contribution to the success of the society. Mm-hmm. Not one person rising to power. This the contribution to overall. We're in it to win it together.
So I want to jump back on that real quick. But so Star Wars: The Last Jedi domestic was 220 million. Star Wars: The Force Awakens was 247 million.
Yeah. Get out of here, baby. Let's go.
Boom.
247. Yep.
That's domestically though.
Well, I was gonna say,
why are you thinking about that,
BJ? At the end of the day, but I'm not. I'm under the. I let my daughter experience this history, but I don't want to put the weight of trying to make these moments as monumental as they are for us. I want it to be more of a, this is what it is and this is the way it's supposed to be type feel, and not like, oh my God, like I want the natural understanding and just feeling of like, this is the bar, this is the norm, not that like, this is something amazing that, oh my God, like I want her to feel like this is the way it should be. And so it's like, yeah, we went to watch it, but I didn't put the as much, pregame into the importance of the movie.
Do you feel like we do that?
I just wanted to see her, exposure, see what it gives me goosebumps as all of the points that BJ's talking about, especially like with the females, like those are things that she pointed out to me, and like the even like totally taking it away, but like with President Obama, like that was the norm for her. Now having a white dude in office is different, and I want that to be like the mind frame that she has, that it isn't, while
I respect that.
Yeah. So, groundbreaking and like, the next thing for us, in the sense, I want the feeling of, this is the way it's supposed to be. It shouldn't like, we make great movies. Like it shouldn't be such a, astronomical, like in the sense of life changing. Like it should just be what goes on. Like we should have had many of these films, previously, and continue to have them, and that they're going to be good ones, they're going to be bad ones, but
I gotta take it back in
playing field.
It got to that point. I wanted to set a context for her because she's the one who. It really started off with setting a context of what's going on, and then it got. I ain't gonna lie, I got excited for this movie to the point where it's like, yo, Thursday can't get here close enough. Like I said, I've never bought tickets to anything. I bought it was like a month and a week in advance.
Yeah.
I look back today, it was January 9th when I bought the tickets. I had never done anything like that before in my life.
But it's
so
awesome.
I wanted to set a context for her. That, and then it got to, I think the excitement came out about it. So I totally get what you're saying. I agree. I think that should be the expectation that's going for them. But I think personally, my excitement got caught up in it and all entangled. Like,
yeah, I think
back to the fresh point when you said that you want to make it an experience of her, like this should be the norm. This is the way of life. Don't make it seem like it's not supposed to be this. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's supposed to be, yo, that was a great film, or whatever the case may be. Do you feel like we do that as a people? Even going back to what Brett said, as far as my man Beat Williams. I'm sorry, I missed his name that fast. The dude was second.
Bubba Wallace.
Bubba Wallace. He was second place. You said it was the first African American to place that high. So for us to label
the
it,
highest African Americans ever placed.
Yeah, but for us to label it in that way, can it be argued that we're making it seem like, oh my gosh, I can't,
Absolutely, because how many African American NASCAR drivers are there? And
is that contradictory
as well
to what Fresh is? Is what Fresh is saying. Is that contradictory to that?
Not at all, because it's not about a fact is still a fact. At the end of the day, the fact remains he still is the first, African American to place that high. So that's still a fact. Barack Obama was the first Black president. That's a conversation we've had. Yes, that is a fact, but this isn't like the first Black superhero movie.
What is the norm? What should be recognized as the norm is Black achievement. Right. Is our people achieving that's what should not be. Oh wow, that shouldn't be a surprise. That's there's historical fact to show that we've always been achievers, and then there's present day stuff that happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what shouldn't be surprising. Like that's what we should aim for, we should strive for. But to get back to Brett's point about where are we going from here, really it's this younger generation. We're going to see where they go, because the current generation, we're too busy picking apart things and trying to see, the message of this movie was that Black men need to trust Black women more. What?
I was gonna get to that to close this thing out.
Like, what do you mean? Like, and then there's, they don't really respect us as Black Americans. Like, we're looking for all the things to tear it apart and maintain our differences, as opposed to, we all put together. What can we do?
I don't understand. I really don't, man. That's that mindset, because it's too much. There's too many messages. There's too much positivity. There's too much groundwork or foundation. It's probably like 2 or 3 levels above foundation that this movie is like setting.
There's just so much division. Like, Wakabe and those guys, those were some Sigmas. And then
that whole
and M'Baku and those guys were the Qs.
I was like, they got a gorilla for their mascot. Like, what are we talking about?
I wasn't gonna point that out, but
it's like everybody decided to know.
And
right past that.
No, and
because they. I mean, but the fuck, it's a gorilla. Like, what are we talking about?
And then they Tyler Alpha. You know what I mean? So
it's like, why?
It's just
like we gotta stop doing stuff like that.
You gotta stop doing stuff like that.
We look for every single way that we can make stuff more divisive as opposed to coming together.
And I get the fun in it.
And there's a theme they didn't hit on that they actually took out of the movie, because 2 of the Dora Milaje are lesbians and they're a couple. And we only had one of them in there. They didn't have the other one in there. And I want to say Nakia is one that's bisexual, but I can't remember if it was her character exactly. But
she's not a Dora.
Huh?
She's not a Dora though. She was an assassin. Or not an assassin. She was like a spy or something. They changed a lot of stuff in that movie, because the backstory that I had read, first of all, T'Chaka didn't kill
his brothers.
Yeah, he didn't kill his brothers or whatever. It was, I think, Claw's people who took Killmonger's family and put them into slavery or whatever. There's a lot of stuff that they changed for the movie. Regardless. Sticking with the Dora what is it again?
Dora Milaje.
Dora Milaje. Sticking with the Dora Milaje. So that scene that put our boy Daniel Kaluuya, that's his name?
Yeah.
Kaluuya, back in that sunken place. What do y'all think of that scene, man? And I'm talking about
when the rhino licked her.
Of you would kill me or whatever, and she
all
said,
of that
for my country. Yep.
All of that. Yep.
I mean, because it was bigger than it was just for her people. Like, at the end of the day, it's where do you like she asked
it was just as important.
What are you loyal to?
The same thing to his sister.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are you loyal to? And she said, I serve whoever on the throne. I don't serve the person, I serve the throne. So she's willing, her values were, the country over my people over my love.
Right. Until she realized that he was going to put the country at risk. And then she was just like, oh, no. We got to do something about this guy.
But then that was her people versus her country. You know what I mean? Is really what it went to, is that she, just like you said, she had that realization of, while I do serve the throne, it's more about my people and what the progression I want them to take, as opposed to just being blindly a servant.
Yeah, and that's just, look, it's just another theme. We got two things that we touched on there. They got into this situation because King T'Chaka did not want to bear the embarrassment of, my brother went to the United States, had a child with somebody else, and my brother is the reason that we got attacked in the first place and people died. He didn't want to deal with that.
Hold on. Is it that he didn't want to? Because he was going to,
I feel
until
like
he pulled the gun. He was going to deal with it until he pulled the gun on him, though.
Right, and then he killed him. And then he didn't want to bring the son back because then he would have to talk through the whole.
Okay, he didn't. Okay, that's what. Okay, I got you. Okay, I'm jumping too far ahead. Okay, got you. Thank you for clarification.
Yeah, no worries. And that's kind of how we are, right? Like, we want to hide our stuff. We don't want to show our bad qualities, or we don't want to be exposed. So we have people that could probably do some really great things, but because they got kicked out of college, or, they suffered divorce, or whatever it might be, they allow that to derail what they would do. And then we have other people that, because people won't come along with them for the cause, and they fear what those people are going to think about them, so they just kind of lay dormant and not act on what they know is right.
Yeah. That's
I got from that scene though, man, like, that you can't deny, the power of a Black woman. You know what I mean? She is of vital importance to any movement that, that we will bring about. So I just feel like there's both sides of it. Like, while we are mighty, we need them just like they need us.
Yeah, and I mean, that's really one of the things that I wanted to make sure I didn't forget, or that we didn't kind of just gloss over, was the strength of the women in all of their roles, whether it be the queen and everything she did to kind of maintain the country, Shuri and all of her technological advances. Was it Okoye? The general? I think her name was Okoye.
Yes. She was a savage. And I love her in The Walking Dead just as much as I loved her in this movie, because it's basically it's almost the same role. But that scene for me, it was a lot, and I got more out of it the second time I saw it than I did the first time, because I'm looking at him and I'm watching him try to basically like seduce this woman into his side. And I'm like, dang, man, that's the fuel right there leading the feminist movement. Like, that's the fuel that's burning right there. And then her and all of her strength, like, all right, if this is really what you want, I'm gonna give it to you, but I'm not gonna, compromise my integrity for my country. And I thought that was huge. That was huge. And I like I said, his head should be gone first quarter, next movie. Like, he gotta go.
And look, that manifests itself in a different way in real life. Like, there's things that one spouse or the other wants to achieve, but the other one can't see that goal. And when you should be sacrificing and doing stuff, it's more like, oh, well, you're not gonna do this or do that. We're not gonna, go on this trip or that trip, when, hey, look, we're trying to build something bigger. And if you focus, we can go on any trip that we want to,
and it works kind of both ways, because you see that dynamic a lot with the successful Black female, and what they have to kind of quote unquote sacrifice to get. Oh, I mean, just
ask Fresh and BJ when we went to the ETA thing, the entrepreneurship thing. Majority of the people in there was females.
Right, but no male attacks, no wedding rings,
and all of them were like, I'm trying to do this, and my husband won't support me, or my boyfriend doesn't support me, and it was just crazy how many people could tell that story.
But there is a flip side to it, and that flip side was shown heavily. I don't know if people caught it between T'Challa and Nakia, because as much as he wanted her to be with him by his side on the throne or whatever, he afforded her that opportunity to go and be great at what she wanted to be great at and be that assassin.
And then I think at the end he also provided an opportunity for both, to compromise. So, right. And like that, just back to Kay's point, like compromise. We can do it together. We all ultimately the goal is the same. So we can do it together. Let's figure out how we can do that and reign as one.
If we're not close, if you're open-minded to hearing and seeing the other side. If you're closed-minded, it's talking to a wall.
And I think it's the being okay with breaking tradition, understanding that tradition and policies were created at moments, and that we evolve as people. And there are opportunities for those traditions to be to evolve as well, and create different needs. Like, yes, it's okay for you to be my queen and the most killer assassin, super agent there is too. Like, that's okay, and being able to break those strides. That's another consistent battle we face as a people, right? The Constitution says XYZ. Constitution was made a long time ago and doesn't have as many valid real world uses as it did back then, and it's that same understanding of in evolving as a people, we have to be able to understand and evolve our laws, policies, and ways of life with the understanding that yes, women aren't doormats. They're not, they are as equal to everybody in the world, and that they have the ability to do everything else, and that changes and policies they should not be enacted from history. There needs to be updating and understanding of everything across the board.
Absolutely. So Kay, when is there going to be a next Black Panther sighting? How long do I have to wait for this next movie?
Infinity.
I'm not sure, man. We have to wait until after Infinity Wars, and we'll see where everything lands after that. So far, I haven't heard anything about a part 2.
Well, they're not going to talk about nothing until Infinity Wars. That's the next big.
Yeah, what they make?
That's a 2-part movie.
Is it?
Oh, for real?
Yeah, that's what all of
that
this,
makes sense. That makes sense.
That's what all of this has been leading up to. So it's definitely going to be a life.
It's a few movies I gotta go back and watch then, because I ain't watched that Ragnarok thing. I didn't watch it.
That was a good one.
Ultron.
Even the significance of Ant-Man and the Wasp are coming out.
Yep.
Yeah.
That there's
Is that going to be
interesting?
That did not grab my attention whatsoever. So is it going to be worth watching?
Yeah, if you're a comic book head, like
some of the little independent ones, it's just like I wasn't a big Ant-Man guy. I thought
it was okay. I thought
it was pretty cool. The movie is the original, like the first one, Ant-Man. But it was cool. I mean, it wasn't like Iron Man, you know what I mean? But
to me, it's the Marvel universe.
Ain't no Deadpool.
Yeah,
the way that they bring everything together.
K Art put me on the Deadpool too. K and Jason. I had to go back and say I was highly entertained doing that.
Yo, Deadpool is that.
Listen,
part 2.
I just randomly watched that joint one day. I was at the house doing nothing, and I put it on, and I was like, I thought this was like a Spider-Man spoof. Like I had
that joke was hilarious.
Idea. He's an idiot.
Deadpool is in, and Ryan Reynolds does an amazing job.
I don't like
made for him.
You don't like him?
I don't like Ryan Reynolds, but whatever.
Oh,
hey, and like this just dawned on me yesterday. Did you guys realize that the guy that plays Captain America was Johnny Blaze in Fantastic Four?
Yeah.
I never saw it. Fantastic.
I saw that.
What you call it? You do know Michael B. Jordan was right there next to him in Fantastic Four.
No, those are 2 different renditions of Fantastic Four.
Yeah. They were the same person actually.
They're the same person.
Yeah, exactly. That's fun. And then who else though? Ryan Reynolds was Green Lantern.
Yeah.
And he was
he referenced it in
all of these Marvel characters.
He was Wade.
Yep, all of these are Wade.
He was Wade in X-Men. In X-Men
you got
Origins.
one dude playing 3 different characters?
But it was
no. Theoretically, he's theoretically, Deadpool and Wade are actually the same person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But he was Green Lantern, but I think they just kind of like
It
they not doing
wasn't
anything with
related.
that.
Like they didn't start making this huge, pool of, this is all coming to Infinity War until after like a lot of those movies, the Fantastic Fours and the Green Lantern movie, all of that were just single films in their time, to where they made that change with like what was the first one really then, Kay?
Which one? The first what?
To
Iron
start
Man.
off like
No, the
Captain
Hulk.
America, Infinity War.
At the end of the Hulk,
Iron Man
Tony.
left
I was
everything.
gonna say Iron Man started everything.
Iron Man.
No, because at the end of the Hulk, Tony Stark met with the General.
But you talking about the second Hulk, right? Because
That was the second Hulk.
terrible
We're talking
Hulk
about the
movie.
reboot.
But it's talking about the second
We're
Hulk.
talking about the reboot of
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. Was that
Reboot of the
08?
Hulk.
Which was after Iron
That
Man.
was after.
Oh,
Iron
that.
Man.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, sit back here and drink my
BJ
tea.
like, I'm out.
But it's it's
Yeah, you see me set my camera off, right?
So we done with the seriousness of the podcast. I just got a question.
What's your question, Jay?
Is it-
Because I'm coming
okay.
to you next. So
All right, we can stay on my box then. Cool. So is this cool? Is this cool or no?
Dog got his legs out. He got his legs up under the.
Is this cool or no? Bringing your baby to the movies.
That's the dumbest thing. How old is this baby?
Oh,
I
there
mean,
was,
I mean,
depends on-
can't talk.
there was a
baby.
newborn
Like,
right next to me.
I'm gonna cry the whole movie,
Depends on
baby.
how your baby is. If your baby is going to
But
sit
do you know
around
though?
and make crazy noise and all this other stuff,
It's a
then
baby.
sometimes that's an
At
issue.
any moment, it can do that.
I'm
There
with
was a
you.
newborn right. There was a newborn right next to me, and she slept the whole movie.
Yeah, I'm about to say it's not impossible to have a child that will sleep through a movie or not
So
be a
y'all-
nuisance. Again, it's no different than how crazy is it to bring your kid to the mall or to a store.
That's
If
a
you
little
don't
different.
have the ability and understanding of what your child can do, then
Or how to control them.
yeah, or how to control them.
Hey,
No,
bro,
it's not smart
listen.
to take them if you don't know how to
Until
get
you have a child, you can't even like.
You valid. That's valid. That's
Man,
valid.
I ain't
But I
even
just-
trying to have my newborn in all of that germ. Like, there's a big germ bubble I just see swirling around the movie theater. So it's like I'm not even bringing them out in that.
It's
Well,
flu
listen.
season.
The baby was there. The baby that I'm talking about was there with her mama, her daddy.
Hold on,
and her grandma.
hold on. What'd you say, Carol?
I said the baby that I'm talking about, the newborn, she was there with her mama, her daddy, and her grandma. And grandma held her the whole time.
Oh, okay.
It might have been grandma.
Then
the germ bubble. We're watching the movie, and it's got the reclining seats, a little table, and everything. So I'm sitting there, we're eating popcorn, and I kind of look over at the corner of my eye, and I see my daughter eating popcorn off of the table. So I looked at her, like I kind of looked, and I was just like, are you eating that off the table? This is mid-movie. She's like, yeah. I just swoosh. I just wiped all of it off. Whoosh. Don't ever do that. Like,
Speaking of the swoof backhand, dog, I almost backhanded the waiter twice at the damn movie theater. You say, Brett, what do you mean waiter at a movie theater? All right, so this is what we talking about.
You went to iPick?
I had to go to iPick because my lady's so bougie. So we go to iPick, and this is why I text you, Carol, because I was trying to figure out what I missed. Because we go to iPick, we get there right on time for the movie, but you can order stuff or whatever beforehand. We got there at like the last of the previews, so the movie was coming on, but of course we got to order drinks and food or whatever. So she pushed the button. Mind you, before she pushes the button, we're there for about 10 minutes and nobody comes to the table. So we're like, all right, whatever. She pushes the button, the movie starts, one waiter comes. Hey, how can I help you? Whatever. I'm like, dude, what the fuck, man? Get away from me. Like, I'm trying to pay attention. She's ordering a drink and I'm trying to like, all right, I want this. We want some sliders. All right, let's go. All right, cool. Order done, whatever. Back to the movie, right? 2 minutes later. Hi, I noticed you guys just sat down. Can we get you anything? I'm like, no, I just ordered over there. Leave me alone. 3 minutes later, and this is when they're in the apartment, and
yeah,
I miss like probably like 2 minutes of that. The waiter comes back to us to ask us again what we want to order. But not only that, somebody done tried to steal or sat in the wrong seat, like 2 rows in front of us. So you got that commotion going on for like 2-3 minutes or whatever. So I'm like, oh, I just can't see the first scene of the movie. So I just text Carol and ask him that, what happened in the apartment so I can understand. Luckily enough, they came back to it later, so it all made sense. But yeah, you talk about that strong backhand. I wanted to give it to that waiter like 3 times.
Swag. By the way, my backhand wasn't a backhand, Amir. I was sweeping popcorn off. I don't want y'all to think I'm out here smacking my daughter.
America, we do not condone hitting kids, but waiters are condoned. Yes.
Jay Dace, man, what we on? Week 7 for
Week 7, Traffic 2. Week 7, 2018, man. Going strong and just shooting for the goal, man. I said this week, at least for me personally, this week, what I'm trying is really focusing or honing in on doing less so that I can do more. I try to stretch myself so thin and do everything and that I will normally have done last year. And I'm in a different ballpark. I'm moving my lady up here. We have our own place together. I'm in night classes now. So from work, I have 2.5 hours that I really have to spend with her. And then, I come home and it's like 9-10 o'clock and I can't stay up too late because once again, I only got 2.5 hours to spend with her. So really doing less and setting 2, maybe 3 max things that I want to get done for the day, as opposed to last year, trying to get 7-8 things done that day. So really just doing less and focusing on those so that I can do more. That's my try 52 this week, man.
Do less to do more. I'm gonna try that out because I am one that makes that 7 or 8 item list. And I feel pretty accomplished if I can get to 6 or 7 of those things. So like I overshoot to just like push myself.
Yeah,
but,
right,
making like that realistic goal.
And a lot of us, we try to do that, and it feels great. But then, for some of us, while not everybody could be, the phenomenal Brett, but but some of us, some of us, man, we shoot for the 8, and we may hit 7, and then a week go by, we hit 6, and 2 weeks go by, we at 4, and we start to get discouraged. But if you really just tackle the 3 and get those done, and then you can, transition over or maybe add more onto the plate after you get the routine of knocking out the 3. So that's what I'm trying for this week, man, and trying to develop that consistency.
Awesome, man. The importance of that routine.
Definitely. That's where the success lies.
Easy. Panther Fresh.
Yes.
You got a crypto biddy for us this week, bro?
Yeah, get that new vibranium crypto.
Exactly. Get that vibranium straight from
Were you
serious, Carol?
Okay, I'm about to say that would have been
that would have been good.
Great.
I'll give him $5 just for the hell of it. Sorry.
The market has done an amazing bounce back last week. Well, the past month, really, it's been a real roller coaster. There's been a lot of shaking out the scared hands within the crypto space. Definitely into last year, into the beginning of this year, you had a lot of people who caught the hype, jumped in without doing their own research and understanding truly what cryptocurrency is, and just throwing dollars here and there. And there was a lot of tree shaking and just weeding out of people who were false investors, I kind of feel, in my mind, and just looking in a sense for a quick get rich quick scheme, and not taking the time to really look at investing in new businesses and ways to improve society in how we do transactions and business things as a whole. And as that has happened, we've seen Bitcoin went all the way down to, I believe, like 6K last week. And now we are sitting at almost $12,000 in less than a week. So growth has come back. The market is bouncing back wonderfully.
We lost half?
Well,
half?
It's, again, like I always say, diversify your portfolio. Make sure to, and again, this is a market where just in December, it was at 20. So you have to realize, the way that this market moves, it's still very new, even though we are, I think 10 years into Bitcoin's creation, but the market is still extremely new. The opportunities that are being created and presented are still, what you need to do your own research for. That there are both, you know, falsehoods and really strong points made on both sides, but the potential of what will happen in the future is almost Wakanda-esque in the sense of there is a lot of opportunity in ways that are going to totally you know, alleviate and relieve a lot of the stresses with you know, many different aspects of business. I don't want to keep it on thinking of currency and, you know, just the simplicity of, hey, now you'll have a new way to go buy toilet paper, but literally like how businesses you know, hold records, how your doctor is able to relate to you, and how doctors are able to relate to you if you go to another country and be able to, you passed out in Europe, you're from America, nobody there knows, you know, your medical history currently now, where there are ways and implementation processes through the blockchain that they're working to make it something that is easily, you know, accessible across the board. Many different opportunities. The market still grows. Do your own research, but I definitely encourage all to go out there and get a little taste.
Yeah, that
But
blockchain
before I go off, I want to go back to Black Panther, and we going back to the Be Fresh status because I want to talk about the soundtrack. We did not get to come back and hit on that, but the soundtrack has actually hit #1 on Billboard.
Of course it did.
Yeah.
And
it's a good commercial product.
but I want to go back to the conversation about, at the end of the day, I don't think that there was the need to put as much. Of course, yes, they in a sense missed the opportunity, but I think soundtracks also encapsulate not just the movie.
It's not a
but the time.
soundtrack, so we got to preface. It's not a soundtrack. It's an album.
Are you saying that, or you just?
No, it's not. That's
What they've said.
Yeah, it's not a soundtrack. It's an album, just along the lines of what I say last week, American Gangster. Music is inspired by, and you got Pray For Me in the movie, but it is not the soundtrack to the actual movie. It's just Black Panther, the album. That's why Kendrick Lamar is on almost every song.
It's still a soundtrack because the songs are still there. I'm thinking you're really speaking something that they said, and this is a Brett personal opinion. You need to put that little sidebar in that thing before you throw that out there like that. However,
it says Black Panther, the album, music from and inspired by, is the soundtrack album for the Marvel Studios film Black Panther.
still the soundtrack.
It's an album.
But either way, I think
Go ahead.
the funny thing though is that actually moves stronger to my point is that it's about capturing the, not just the movie sense, but the feeling, just like American Gangster did, where it was more about encapsulating that feeling in the moment and keeping it relevant to this time period as well. You know,
Whatever.
that those
I am all about
you have to get away from.
For those of you out there, the Black Panther score is out there available. I've
that's
been
what,
rocking out to that.
Taylor loved when they every time they came to Wakanda, she was like, the music they were playing was so awesome. It was
She
so
loved the
amazing.
score.
Man,
That's
they
all
was
on the
getting
score.
it on the boat, man. On the way to the first challenge. That whole ceremony was amazing.
yeah.
I was loving it. The music.
Oh,
was
yeah.
banging.
That whole sequence is on the score.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna have to go ahead and find the score and see if they got that on title.
It is.
Oh,
That's where I've been listening to it.
Easy.
Oh, he said, I've already been on the journey. Y'all should see me
Glad to see
driving down
Curl
the street.
is still on title, man. It took him a while to get up there. Now he's fully subscribed, getting that good high five.
That's hilarious. I don't know if you've noticed, but because of the hi-fi on title, I don't know if you ever noticed, it seems like it skips.
It does that now. I
don't know where that came from.
I don't
all of a
know.
sudden.
So it used to just pause randomly in the middle of a song and then just like play blank, like nothingness, and then pick it back up like later on. I don't know what's going on now because it's like only hi-fi now because I didn't have hi-fi.
Yeah.
I was on the lesser plan. But moving right along, I do want to remind all of our listeners that this podcast is brought to you by Fledgeology and our beloved BFBG Arthur Faison. We got the Arts Corner this week. Let me pull that up real quick. Oh, so Arts Corner this week. Don't waste time learning the tricks of the trade. Instead, learn the trade. So don't look for shortcuts. I kind of like that. Don't look for the tricks of the trade. Don't look for the ways that you can get around the bush. Figure out how you can go through the bush. Learn that thing.
Facts.
Easy. Carol, you want to close us out, man, so we can get up out of here, back to Wakanda?
Yeah, let's close this thing out. We talked on a lot of themes today, especially within our people, and we hit on the word tradition. And it's so fitting if you break down the etymology of tra and dition. So tra actually means like intermediate, and dition actually refers to command or dominion. So for those of you that are so rooted in tradition and only act on tradition as opposed to giving respect to tradition, but being in the present time, you are of intermediate command. And where we need to go as a people, if you want to get to a Wakandan-esque environment, is we need to improve our relationships. We need to improve how we coexist and how we put our efforts together. And through that, we can get to an advanced command or an advanced dominion, kind of like Wakanda, and we can achieve great things. 71 million. Who's going to put it up? I want to see it. And really, I'll just go ahead and put it out there now. I want to see 140 million because we do have the power to do it. And I would love to see us. We've talked about being socially engaged. We've talked about being politically engaged. Now we've seen an example, be it fictitious, but somebody thought of it in order for it to be written. So if somebody can think it, we can do it.
Yeah, man, let's get fiscally involved. I think one of the first places we can go for that is our HBCUs, man. They got a special coming out that I'm really excited to watch. Being somebody that almost went to a HBCU and then seeing the relevance that they kind of have, they could be a lot more relevant today, and that'll probably be a podcast we'll jump into in the coming weeks. But yeah, fiscal involvement. Let's get to it. That's all we got today, ladies and gentlemen. We up out of here. But thank you for listening.
Before you do that, I would say we gotta
BJ's Corner.
we gotta take a second to send our thoughts and prayers out to everybody up in Parkland, Florida.
Yes.
We didn't get to discuss this week, but we definitely need to talk about some things coming up. But as a nation, as a South Florida resident, it hit close to home. But we got a lot of things to do. So prayers out to them, the community. But again, I love the hashtags. Pray for Parkland, pray for Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, whatever the hashtag is. But faith without works is dead. So absolutely, we got to stop just praying and put some act behind it. But we'll talk about that in another podcast.
Action.
Absolutely. Carrie, you got something else you want to
balls.
Anybody else? Jay, you got something you want to leave? You good? Everybody good?
We good. We out of here, man.
We out of here. Thank you for listening with us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing.
Wakanda. Wakanda.
Forever.
Hey, man, I actually like it.
The 13th floor. The 13th floor.